Camper. Hey, we're going to start a little bit early with Alex Gary.
Yeah.
He actually gets up and comes in. You're good at getting guests like that.
That's right. You know, I don't do it all the time, but when I do it, I get them in here.
I tell mine to go ahead and sleep in. We'll wake you up and get you going. Alex Gary, we were just talking about you before you got in here, and the fact is that, yeah, very, very good things. And the first thing we said was we kind of feel sorry for you in a way because we know what it's like to find NIC 10 records. Tell us what you're doing right now and where they can find it, and then we'll get into the details. How's that sound?
Okay. I should call it up because it's a blogger blog. So the easiest way to find it is to just Google NIC 10 Sports History Book. And the actual address is www.nic10historybook.blogspot.com.
I like that. You had to look at it to make sure, didn't you?
It's a lot there.
I think probably by the time school starts in August, I'll buy a domain name.
Sure.
But it's really that costs you $12, right? And at this point, I mean, I've made $10 in advertising, so maybe that's my goal. Once I get over $12, I'll buy a domain name, and then I'm in the black here. The impetus behind it really kind of goes back to Matt Weber, which is kind of funny. I used to work at the Rockford Register Star. I was never in the sports department, but I started out as a sports writer. And years ago, when Matt Weber, the current Boylan baseball coach, was at Boylan, he had a really good junior year. I think he had something like 1,800 yards passing. Mm-hmm. And somebody called Matt Trowbridge and said, is he going to set some kind of passing record for the NIC 10? Well, they didn't know. And they knew that I used to be a sports writer up in Beloit, Wisconsin, and I was a basketball and baseball player at Harlem, and I'm a stat nut. I'm the kind that if I got a hit, I knew what my batting average was before I rounded first base, right? So at the time, the easiest way to do it is just to go into the records. They had a microfilm machine there at the Register. It's gone now, with the cuts over there. And I would just go in at night when I was done with everything else and just start going through what did, one is we had to come up with a list of...
You did game by game, you're telling us, right?
Well, you didn't have to do game by game because...
updated stats during the week?
The newspaper, yes. Thursdays, for years, the newspapers would run leaders. Mm-hmm. So you just had to go to week 9 or week 10, or, and see who the passing leader was, and then add playoff games. And so I did... First I got a list of guys it might be, and looked them up. And that's when we found out it was Whitey Anderson, the quarterback of the 82 Guilford State Champion team. He had something like 1,000 yards his junior year, 2,200 yards his senior year, and that was the record, which Matt then broke.
Sure.
But that got me going. And then, because you start reading about these great football teams, and then I just started working on football and compiling all this stuff. And that year, I did a project for the newspaper called the Dream Tournament, where I picked 16 of the best football teams from the conference history and pitted them together in a tournament. I brought in 9 old coaches to be the voters.
You mean 9 veteran coaches? Well, we don't want to call them old. We get in trouble that way.
Steve Kofoid wasn't very old.
There we go.
Well, we had Tom Schwalbach, who coached West in the 60s.
Sure.
He came in and did it. It was a lot of fun. Bill Thumb was in there. And, that 74 East team that everybody still talks about was by far the winner. But that was a lot of fun. So I had all these records. And I'm not at the newspaper anymore. Last year I came in and I talked to Matt Parker about maybe doing a book with this stuff. Mm-hmm. And he was kind of interested. But then it got me back into looking what I've got. And I was nowhere near ready for a book. And then it comes down to motivation. Do you spend a night a week at the library just, until you're ready? Or do you just start a blog and just start putting out bit by bit by bit? I thought, I needed a hobby. So that's what I started doing. And
well, that's a hobby, all right.
Yeah. It is a hobby. And my goal's been to post one thing a day. I'm averaging 3. Some of them's quick, like putting an all-conference for soccer. Boom, type in some names,
Right.
So that's the impetus behind it. And in terms of finding records, I had most of the stuff that's been up there now is most stuff I still had at the newspaper. Mm-hmm. And then I found out from the Belvedere North baseball coach that each athletic director in the conference is responsible for certain sports.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. Okay, so baseball and softball, Boylan has to collect that stuff. So I drove over, so I emailed Paul Heitkamp and said, hey, I'd like to get all conference from baseball and softball. What do you have? He goes, you really need to come in. Okay, so I went in 2 weeks ago on a Monday, and the former AD, Jerry Kerrigan, who I think is the assistant principal, and he's still there.
Gotcha.
He's a pack rat. So over the years, he had collected all the all-conference from all the sports.
Nice.
And
bingo.
And Hike Camp had put them into these 2 thick books. And I spent 2 hours just taking pictures of each page.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I've got enough now for the next year and a half.
Good.
Gotcha.
And the worst thing about it all is trying to get it now because of what you just said. Each sport has individual school taking care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to beg to get the all-conference teams. And we're starting to get it now. It's starting to work a little bit. But, man, to find the past records, you got to be really good. So anytime you hit something like you just did at Boylan, that's like, man, I died and went to stat heaven, right?
Well, it just think of the countless hours of going through microfilm just to find an all-conference team.
Right.
Now, that's I'll eventually have to go back and get standings year by year. But again, I've found enough that if I don't do anything else, I've got a year and a half worth of stuff.
Right.
The ultimate goal for me is really to get the old coaches and athletes and ADs,
veteran coaches,
to former. How about former?
There you go.
All right. To dig through their boxes, right? Like in my case, my basketball stats are in a box. When I finished at Harlem, Don Tresmer was my coach. You had a little ceremony at the end of the season. He gave you your stats for the year. Threw them in a box. So I still had them. It took me a while to find them. But I think most coaches by the 70s were probably giving the season-end stats, right?
Sure, yeah.
And either the parents got them, or the guys got somebody on the team has them somewhere in a box. And I'd like guys to go through, next time they're home from Christmas or next time they're up in the attic, just to see if they can grab something. If they can find a team stats, take a photo, email it to me.
Right.
Because it'd be cooler if you had the actual stats. Like there's a guy named Mike Johnson who I became friends with in the newspaper. He was a great basketball player for Jefferson in the 70s. He got 30 rebounds in one game, which we think is still the Jefferson record.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming 30 in a game. Yeah.
Holy moly.
That's a lot.
The game was faster back then. But, I'm thinking at some point, if Mike can dig through and he could actually find like the 1972 Jefferson team stats, wouldn't that be cool to have out there?
Right.
Now, Boylan, like when I saw High Camp, the reason I think coaches and athletic directors might be the big thing is Boylan's compiled all of their baseball stats from 1961 to the present day minus 1969. Can't find it. So eventually I will have all the Boylan stats. And there's some great players there.
Sure.
Greg Marinelli was one of their first ones. Dick Noffke, who got drafted by the White Sox. Of course, Weber, Smolinski. I'll have their all-time, what they did in high school.
Also the IHSA, they do a good job on some of their basketball. Like when I did the story, what's the Adolph Rupp? Remember, Adolph Rupp was at Freeport? They actually had the box scores from Freeport State games, and they had some of their whole schedules and everything. But you can find it everywhere. The problem is finding the old stuff, isn't it? And finding the teams that didn't have such good years. Like the teams that were like 0-18 or something like that. They were real good at keeping those stats.
And that's up to the present day. So some of that stuff's going to die. I mean, I run the scoreboard for Jefferson basketball in the winter, and that's been fun. I've been doing that since 2009, so I've gotten to see a lot of guys and girls come through.
You were with Kluzak, then? You hang out with him?
Yeah, well, I started out with The Voice. Bruce Feeling. I was there for his last 2 years. And then, of course, Charles came in. And so, Charles and I have become pretty good friends. But they have a girl now, Elizabeth Bancoli. They've had a rough few seasons, but Elizabeth, big girl, she's 6'1", and she hadn't really been a basketball player. But she had 600 points her first 2 years. Now, this year, she hurt her knee and only, I think, scored something like 100 and something. But still, Elizabeth, if she gets a full season, then should be a 1,000-point scorer.
Right.
Nice.
But they have no... The coaches there didn't keep full season stats, so we have no idea how many points. We're still not sure what she got in points because the old coach just sent an email to the principal. He's got to find the email because the box scores are not in the newspaper. We will not be able to rebuild Elizabeth's career. Plus, we don't know how many rebounds she got. They never kept that. How many blocked shots she had. I mean, I remember games she blocked at least a dozen shots.
Sure.
Because girls turn around and they just shoot it and, swat. There's a little, right? So there's some stuff you're never going to find, and some stuff you're still going to lose even up to this day.
Right.
But, you brought up the Freeport under Adolph Rupp.
Yep.
Freeport, either in 26 or 27 or 27 and 28, had the best football team in the conference until 1974. They went back-to-back undefeated. They crushed second-place Rockford 72-0.
Yeah.
Back when, they weren't run-ups like that. one of the things I want to do eventually when I get back to looking into microfilm is look into iconic teams and put all of the box scores from those 2 years.
You know what's fun to do is when I get to a game, I get there way too early. My wife's always yelling. I always go to the trophy case and take some pictures because there's some great old trophies. Freeport has those basketball state championships.
Yep.
That is just fun. I mean, you got to look about everywhere, don't you, though? I mean, you just can't sit around and wait for that stuff to come to you. You got to look for it.
It'll be fun when stuff starts coming to you. Like Greg Jury. Yeah, Loves Park City Councilman Greg Jury was a very good basketball player in the 70s. He got a scrapbook that he gave me, and all I was able to get was point totals. But I got point totals for the 1974-75 Harlem basketball team.
That's good.
So it's in there.
That's a win.
Yeah, that is a win. That's just something I never have to do myself, and it gave me an idea. If I really want to dig into Harlem and I'm missing stuff, not just the Register Star, but the old Loves Park Post, right? But yeah, whenever you come up with something old, it's like, oh, wow. I mean, one of the things you talked about is the IHSA does have all of the box scores from state teams, right?
You know, I'll hold that thought. We're going to keep you over because we got to go to the news. For some reason, Fox wants to do news now, Alex. You know how they are. But you can stay, do another segment with us?
Oh, definitely.
All right, we'll be back with Alex Gary to talk about that. I've enjoyed this already.
Yeah.